may I please speak to Amanda Daniels?
This is she.
Hi, Amanda. This is attorney Caitlin calling from Marble Law. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm well. I have you scheduled for a legal strategy session. Is this still a good time to go over your legal matter?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So I have a few notes here. I just want to confirm some background information. And then my job as your legal strategy session attorney is to figure out what actionable steps we can take, kind of figure out what the issue is and what to do from here. Okay. So,
Okay.
so what I have from my intake notes is that
Uh,
you live in Houston. Is that correct?
yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I moved here about, I want to say 9 years ago now.
9 years ago.
From California. That's where I got married.
Okay, you got married in California. Moved to Texas 8 to 9 years ago. Okay. So in Texas, in order to file for divorce, even though you weren't married in this state, it's okay. You just have to have jurisdiction in Texas. So to establish jurisdiction here, you have to live in Texas for at least 6 months and in Houston or Harris County for at least 90 days. So 3 months. So since you've lived in Texas for 7 to 8 years, or 8 to 9 years, I'm sorry, and you live in Harris County. Have you lived in Harris County at least 3 months?
Yeah, we've kind of never left Houston since we
Oh,
moved here
okay. So
originally.
you stayed, you've been there 8 to 9 years. So that's longer than 6 months and longer than 90 days. So we'll have jurisdiction here. And then, do you remember what year you got married or how long you've been married now?
About, I want to say going on 10, 12. I can't remember.
Okay,
We were together
12
longer than
years.
that.
Okay. Okay, so if it's over 10 years in Texas, you can be eligible for spousal support. Basically, it's not automatic, but just it'll be maintenance that's either during the divorce proceedings or after the divorce proceedings. You can be eligible because the idea is that you've established like a lifestyle or you could be financially dependent on one another. The other ways that spousal abuse or spousal support is given is if there's family violence or abuse. I know I have some notes here that you've experienced some emotional abuse. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's just a lot of gaslighting throughout the years, and there's anything that escalated to too much, and so we didn't call the police or anything. But
Okay,
I'm
so
just
it's like
kind of sick and
verbal
tired
or
of all of it.
emotional or controlling.
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't have any
And it's
sorry, go ahead.
what's that? I was going to say it's nothing to do with the kids. It's just our relationship, and so that's kind of why looking at my options
Right.
right now, and of course trying to figure out what to do with custody of the kids, and if I
Right. I
want to move
totally
and all that. So there's
understand. So right now, are you physically separated? Did they move out? Are you living in the same residence?
we're in the same residence, just in the same house, just kind of in different parts of the house. And he
Okay,
works
living
all the time, so
separate.
he's barely home.
Okay. Okay. And you said you share children together. I have notes here, 2 kids, ages 8 and 6. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And your children were born during the marriage, right? Because we think it's been 10 to 12 years. So the oldest is 8. Okay. And then, as far as I know, you asked about custody and divorce. So, a couple things to note for Texas with divorce. I know we already talked about jurisdiction, so that way you can file here, since even though you got married in California, you've lived in Texas for longer than 6 months and Harris County for longer than 90 days. So, the first paperwork for the divorce is called the original petition for divorce. It basically initiates the lawsuit of divorce or requests the court to grant a divorce and also notifies your spouse. So it's kind of 3 steps in one with the original petition. We drafted on your behalf where we're asking the court to grant your divorce with children in Harris County. We file it in the courthouse and then we get your spouse served. Now, generally, they physically knock, knock, knock on the door. Sheriff, court constable is going to hand deliver that paperwork because that's the standard service. That's the legal threshold to physically deliver. So that way there's witness, receipts, and then the respondent, the person that served, your spouse in this case, will then have 20 days to respond to the court once they're notified of your request for divorce. Does that make sense?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
And so does it have to be, do I have to be there? Does it have to be a certain, I guess, time frame for it or anything like that?
No, nothing like that. Since you still live together, we'll be guiding you every step of the way. So it won't be served until it's, drafted, of course, where we write it in real time on your behalf, till the court accepts it and the clerk is says that it's ready for the judge or the court's eyes. So then it's accepted. A lot of times that's where a lot of people run into problems if they try to file divorce or do any legal proceedings themselves. There tends to be pushback from the court. You might not know all of the T's to cross, I's to dot, special language, and local rules that they might require. So a lot of times the clerk will push back your documents and then you might not know why. So having legal counsel kind of alleviates that because we will be drafting the original petition on your behalf. And no, you won't have to be there when they're served, and it doesn't happen overnight. Besides the timeline of them having 20 days to respond to the court, there's also a 60-day waiting period in Texas. It doesn't mean you have to twiddle your thumbs waiting around for 60 days. It just means that that's how long the paperwork has to be on file with the courthouse before the judge will issue a final hearing. Basically, before the judge will sign off on the divorce, that it's 60 days is the minimum. That's the quickest you can be divorced in Texas. It generally takes longer than that to get a court date and to get the paperwork going. But I know that you were married in California, so I'm not sure if they have a waiting period, but I wanted to let you know Texas does, just in case California, they might have 30 days. It's usually common to have some type of waiting period, except for like a Vegas style weddings where there isn't much of a time period. The idea is just so that there's a cooling off and everybody gets the paperwork delivered and you don't lose your house, your car, and your kids overnight, but that it's a fair and equal process.
Okay. And then since you kind of brought it up, what am I doing with the house and the kids and everything? Because
Right.
I'll be honest with you, I have literally nothing to my name. Quit my job, we moved here to start a family, and now it's in shambles. So
Right.
what kind of rights or what kind of entitlement do I have?
Right.
What can I ask for even?
Right. Well, since you've been married longer than 10 years, we can ask for spousal support. Since you have that financial dependency, you've already created that community where, like you said, you moved to Texas, quit your job to raise the kids, to stay home, stay at home mom. So basically, the income that comes from the community, or if the other party works outside the home, it's still considered joint income, even though you're not physically bringing in the income, they are. So a lot of times they might have that control power struggle that it's all of theirs because it's their bank account, their job, their name. But in fact, Texas is a community property state, so income is still joint property during marriage. So even though you don't have any physical income into the marriage, you will still be entitled to joint property as far as the house, the vehicles, the joint account, any 401k benefits or anything like that of the spouse. We want to divide everything. So basically, because you have the house right now that you're both in and you're in separate rooms, we'll have to come to a decision or a negotiation with the other party when it comes to what to do with that marital asset. Basically, since it was purchased during marriage, the presumption is it's community property, that it's half yours and half theirs. But we can't, split a house down the middle and keep it that way. We need to sell it and split the proceeds, or one of you stays in it and the other party, buys you out, kind of thing. Now, if the other thing that goes into that with the living arrangements is the custody arrangement, because in Texas, the conservatorship or the custody arrangement is designated most usually on the primary parent being the parent the children live with, and the non-custodial parent being the parent the children don't live with. They're the ones that exercise visitation, pay child support, medical support. So have you two discussed not living together, or who will move out, or what to do with the home you're currently in?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Would there be a way to kind of, for me to stay in the house, but to not take it over until, I figure out if I want to move back to California or if I want to stay
Yes.
here with the kids?
Right. So the good thing about you calling and being the spouse that files, you'd be considered the petitioner. So you have the control of the narrative chronologically for the case, meaning you're the one that's getting the documents served to the other party. Not you personally, but you officially through the court process. So they're going to have to respond to you or respond to the court based on your requests. So we can ask that you remain in the home with the children, the other party continue to pay the mortgage, utilities, or whatever until a certain time. When the divorce proceeding goes, this can be called a temporary order. Basically, what you can do to divide the property now or to keep the orders with the children's schedule. Since you're both living together, it's presumed that you have equal rights since you're married to the children. But you'll want to have black and white court ordered rights, so there's no surprises. There's no surprise pickups from school, since they're 6 and 8 years old. There's no, them not showing up or not financially supporting when it comes time to live separate.
Okay.
So there is a way for you to stay in the house in the sense that we'll request that you stay in the house. The other party continue to pay the bills. We can request a temporary restraining order. It doesn't mean restraining order like stay away from me 500 feet. It means restraining order like pause, restrain the community, keep the status quo, nobody kick each other out, nobody unenroll the children from school, nobody talk disparagingly or harass each other, don't hide and withhold the children from each other. Basically stop, freeze, let's get to court and divide everything fairly, because we're so intertwined with children and property and vehicles and otherwise. So we can ask for temporary orders to kind of expedite the process to get into court within 15 days. Usually courts are scheduled, every 3 or 4 weeks. So you can get a court date, once a month, but you can get into court in 2 weeks, usually when there's a temporary ordering involved.
Okay. Good to know. So I think that's what I want to do. I don't think, anybody's going to do anything outrageous.
Right. Everything hasn't been physical.
I do want to. Yeah, no, I do want to have, just to kind of keep it as least traumatizing for the kids as possible. Because like I said, eventually I'm going to have to get a job again and kind of figure out getting back into the working world. But from now until then, I at least want, the kids taken care of, and of course our home and kind of our means taken care of until I get to that point. So.
Right. So that way it gives you the buffer, since, like you said, you're financially dependent on them right now. So most divorces in Texas are based on insupportability or mutual, where it's both people. I know in your case, there's been some gaslighting and control, but I also think it may be mutual if you're living in different parts of the house. But there are fault and no fault divorce where we could allege a fault like adultery, cruelty, financial abuse. There's 7 faults. And again, they would have to be proven in court. We can allege them, the other person can agree, but there needs to be, if there is a trial to put fault, in the sense to divide the property like 60-40 instead of 50-50, then there could be need to be evidence involved, like clear and convincing evidence. In your case, I know that you don't have any properties in your name, or it's kind of been financially controlled that way by your spouse, but you have been doing the child rearing. You did give up your job. We have those testimonies and words to advocate for spousal support and the child support with the temporary orders. And then also filing that original petition for divorce and getting them served will get the ball rolling on getting the paperwork signed officially to have you divorced. So you're independent in the eyes of the law again. You don't need their consent. You can sign, you can buy a house, all those kind of things when you're not married.
Okay,
Okay.
so one of the things I wanted to know also is it going to be difficult for me to get custody of the kids? Yes, we kind of share, but in reality, I'm really the only person taking care of them.
Right. Because you're a stay-at-home
And,
mom,
he comes
right?
home at night, that kind of thing. So, yeah, so am I, is that going to be bad on me if I don't have that constant stream of income that's coming in? Like, what if he tries to get full custody? Is that going to be something that's going to happen?
Well, in Texas, the threshold of family court is the best interest of the children. So, like you said, the least passive resistance, the least bit of upheaval is what the court is going to want as well. And you've been the primary parent in the sense that you've been child rearing and you've been home, and the other party's been working outside of the home. So it's going to be quite difficult for that other party to prove that it's in the best interest of the children for them to live with them instead of with you, since you've been doing the day-to-day parenting presumptively since you came to Texas when they were born 8 and 6 years ago. So we would be
Okay.
requesting that you're the
And then
primary.
what if
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, what if I wanted to, like I said earlier, what if I want to move back to California? Is that something that I can do? Let's say, because my goal is, it really depends on, what income is like, and I don't have any support here with any family or anything, and everyone's back in California. So
Right.
if I do make that choice, am I okay to move and to take my kids, or should I do that now, or when should I do that?
Well, so in order to file for divorce in California, you would have to live back in California for 6 months or more, or whatever the California jurisdiction is. Right now, since you live in Texas and your children are residents of Texas, your property, your house is in Texas, likely Texas has the jurisdiction. We would just want to ask the court that you have sole managing and conservatorship, meaning you make the exclusive and independent rights for the children when it comes to their medical, their residence, and there can be the other party can ask for a geographical restriction, though. If he intends to stay in Texas and wants the children in Texas, he can fight it. But again, we would use the evidence that are in the best interest of the children. If there is support and a job for you in California, the other party could also agree that you move to California, and then there's court orders for custody written in based on the distance. Because the most common custody arrangement in Texas is joint managing and conservatorship, or joint custody is what a lot of people call it. And generally, there's a primary physical a parent that's the possessory parent that the children live with. And then the other parent is considered the non custodial parent that the children don't live with, and they exercise visitation. In Texas, if you live in the same county or under 100 miles away from each other, then the other party would get the children first, third, and fifth weekend of every month, 30 days in the summer, every other holiday. Something like that is the standard possession order. The standard child support calculation for two children is also 25% of their net income, and for them to cover the health insurance. Those are the kind of standard orders that go in for joint custody, but we could also ask that you be able to move if you get a job. Those kind of clauses and customizations can be asked in the petition. I know that the other party could give pushback. If they intend to stay in Texas, they may want their children in Texas. But again, the threshold of family court is all in the best interest of the children. And I will definitely put down all of your goals in my detailed notes here. So that way, when you get assigned to the Marble attorney on my team, they work in Harris County, familiar with the courts, the judges, and the schedule there, and with divorce and custody cases. So they'll have that home field advantage, okay? You'll be assigned to them based on my notes here today. And after we get off the phone, then my financing team reaches out to you in the next hour or two to go over all the pricing. Since we don't charge like a traditional firm, we don't charge retainers, those large upfront fees, $10,000, $20,000 just to get your case started. We also don't charge per hour. Every time you call, every time you email, you're getting a surprise bill in the mail. Marble tries to alleviate that. We believe everybody everywhere deserves remarkable legal care. So that's why we offer pay-as-you-go and pay-over-time payment plans. So what I would be recommending today, Amanda, based on all of your goals, would be the original petition for divorce for us to get that drafted, filed, and served to your spouse. for us to get a temporary restraining order served to them just to keep the status quo so they're not emptying the bank accounts considering your name's not on things. And we can also, in the temporary orders, ask for you to have custody of the children, for you to stay in the home, for you to have spousal support and child support. And if you want to request, to move to California, if you can't find a job, any of those specifics we'll put in there since you have been doing the primary child rearing. And again, the threshold of family court is the best interest of the children. So I know you're concerned about them and the least passive resistance and them, not being without. So those temporary orders are kind of filling that gap. And again, will get us into court within 15 days generally. So like I said, the next step from here, after I type up my notes with my legal recommendation, is my financing team's going to reach out to you. They're going to give you a call here in the next hour or two to go over those payment plans and discounts we offer. If for some reason you missed the call, they're going to leave a voicemail or a text on how to reach them back. And if for some reason you don't hear anything in the next 2 hours, please let me know. Call, text, email me so I can figure out what the holdup is. Okay, so I'm typing these notes here. I know that we went over the house, the kids. I just want to get a general idea also, just in case there's vehicles, bank accounts. I know you told me everything is pretty much in your spouse's name, correct?
Right. So I know he probably has a retirement account with work. I've seen some, we kind of file our tax returns and all that. So we see some of it, but I don't have access to any of that. Is that going to be a problem?
No, they're going to have to. There's something called discovery that happens. It's not overnight that we start dividing property. Like I mentioned before, the original petition for divorce and the temporary orders will get things rolling. And then, depending on if, there needs to be a negotiation or the other party makes an agreement. Also, Harris County requires mediation if there's no agreement, where we represent you in one room, the other party is in another room with their attorney or by themselves, and an unbiased third party mediator goes back and forth trying to make a agreement. So when that happens, discovery is involved and there has to be disclosures, like financial disclosures, and they will be on the hook based on their W-2, their pay stubs, and likely because you're in separate rooms and things right now and they're the breadwinner, likely they know these things are coming, but definitely even more advantageous for us to get the ball rolling on your behalf, for you to be the petitioner, you to request the spousal support, child support, and the 401k, vehicles, home, and the children to live with you. So that way it's all in black and white in writing, and they have to respond. Generally, they respond within 3 ways. They either agree, disagree, or ignore it, and that'll kind of dictate what happens next. So since cases are living, breathing animals and things change all the time, that's why I have your initial recommendations today for those temporary orders, the temporary restraining order and the original petition for divorce. But then discovery will come in, and we could always add another flat fee payment plan and discount if you need our services with the discovery, or like I said, if mediation or hearing comes about, we could always add another flat fee payment plan and discount on the back end. It's not like you're getting subpar legal services or showing up to court with payment in hand. The attorneys are fully paid, fully vetted, fully experienced up front. You're just working with Marble on the back end to pay over time.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. I don't think I have any more questions.
Okay. I know it's a lot of information. And again, it's just the initial. Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, sorry, I have a delay on my end. It's just the initial information, but the case manager go further into detail to get all those addresses, vehicle types, and things, all the specifics. Because again, they'll be familiar with Harris County. They're on your legal team with the paralegal, the case manager, and the attorney. So that way you have 3 legal minds in your corner guiding you every step of the way. So like I said, today I'm going to make my legal recommendation for those 2 services. They have flat fees, payment plans, and discounts attributed to them. So if you just look out for that call here in the next hour or 2, then my financing team will reach out. But please let me know if you don't hear anything in the next 2 hours. That way I can figure out what the holdup is and have my team reach out ASAP. But they're generally on top of it, Amanda, so I think you'll hear from them in the next hour or so. Please let me know if you don't, and I will schedule them to reach out ASAP.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Amanda. I'm going to get these notes typed up with my recommendation for your divorce petition, as well as the temporary restraining order with the temporary order hearing, okay? So that way we can have some initial steps and then take it from there.
Okay. Oh, and one last question. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
With the payments,
yes.
how can I pay? Is it credit card? Can someone pay for me?
Yes. So
Financial
my
issues.
financing team, like I said, they're going to be able to answer all those questions. They'll definitely be able to cater payment plans to your specific needs. I'll request a discount on your behalf. But again, they'll be able to work with you. And if you need to use different forms of payment or what day and time you'll need to pay every month, I don't have the exact prices, but I know that they'll work with you, for example, a couple hundred a month over 18 months, something like that. And of course, it's not like you have to be paid in full before we're working on it, okay? The attorneys are paid in full up front, like I said. Just the Marble financing team is working with you on the back end, okay? So we can request a payment plan so you can get all your ducks in a row.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you so
Okay.
much again.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I'm going to get my notes typed up here. You just look out for that call. I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. You stay safe, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Amanda. Bye-bye now.